You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another special guest. We're going to talk to Natalie Fayman. She is an expert when it comes to stress, resilience, mental fitness, and she is also a weight loss coach. She is going to talk to us today. I think we can dive into the topic of making motivation easy. So before we dive into that, I first want to welcome Miss Natalie to the show. So how you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And you have an amazing story. You have a story about basically getting over depression and also losing weight. So take the audience back to how all of that happened for you.
Yeah, I think the two are probably tied together pretty intricately. My story, it basically comes down to post-traumatic growth. When I was in college, I was engaged to someone who I had been with for 5 years. And, I thought I had the perfect guy, thought I was really super lucky to have him in my life. And the only thing that bothered me about the relationship that I had with him was that anytime we had an argument, he would just kind of get up and leave, and he would drive around and be gone for hours, and he would come back expecting that I would have completely forgotten about whatever we were arguing about and that everything would be fine. This pretty minor thing, I thought to myself. So, I told myself I was not, I was making too much out of that, and I just count my blessings, et cetera. And it just, it wasn't something that I was so super worried about until one year, probably my junior year of college. We decided that we were going to go on a away backpacking trip to a national park that was about 1,000 miles from home, from where we lived. And long story short, we get out there. I had entrusted him with my safety. I had entrusted him with all the planning. I just kind of figured that he was going to take care of everything. He was a Army National Guard student, so that was kind of his wheelhouse. And what ended up happening is when we were 1,000 miles from home, out in the middle of nowhere, we had an argument. And he left me basically by the side of the road, left to my own devices to try and figure out how I was going to get myself home. And the last I saw of him was his taillights driving away in the middle of the night. And that honestly was the moment that I just felt my whole world imploding around me. I mean, this guy had been the center of my world. I was just focused on our future together, growing old together, having a family together. And the next thing I knew, he had just kind of left me out in the middle of nowhere. And my life was legitimately in peril at that point. So, for years after that, I was really marinating pretty heavily in my victim story. Justifiably so, of course, but I was very focused on how unfair it was and what he had done to me emotionally and what could have happened to me physically when I'm left in a situation like that. But as some time went by and I look back on that situation, I started realizing that the fact that happened to me actually forced me to take a hard look at myself and just really kind of question. Ultimately, it was me that put myself in that situation, and I have to take responsibility for that. I took absolutely no initiative, no precautions to make sure that I had my own resources or that I could take care of myself in the event that something happened to him. And, I just kind of trusted to him and to fate to take care of me. And when that didn't happen, the consequences really kind of fell on me for that. So what I learned from that situation, instead of taking away the message that I can't trust people, that everybody's going to abandon and walk out on me, poor me, and just focus on my trauma, I instead kind of started to transition my focus to what can I do to become a more self-reliant person? What can I do to make sure that I always have the resources to be able to take care of myself if I have to? What can I do to become a stronger person? And that is exactly what's happened. And as I look back from 20 years down the road, 30 years, however long it's been, I'm actually grateful that happened, because I'm a completely different person today than I would have been otherwise. And I think I like this version of me a whole lot better than the person that I probably would have become.
And when you had the steps of processing this, how were you able to maintain clarity as far as, okay, I can either give up now or I can just find a way to keep encouraging myself to keep pushing forward?
Yeah, well, I kind of lost myself for several years after that happened. I wasn't really able to move past it. That really became my defining moment. And I think for a lot of people who experience trauma, that trauma becomes the turning point of their entire life. And it's not an easy thing to move past. It's not an easy thing to take a positive lesson from, because you are so focused on the unjust way that you've been treated, what was done to you, how unfair it is, or how malicious the other person's intentions may have been. But again, it was a conscious choice that I made. I didn't want to live that way for the rest of my life. I did not want the way he treated me to define me for the rest of my life. I did not want to be a victim until the day I died. And so I realized that I have a choice in this moment. I can either lay down and just let myself be a victim, or I can get up and I can fight for myself, and I can take back control of my life and make sure that I always keep control of my life. And I think that was kind of a parallel to what was actually happening to me in the moment, because I could have either just laid down by the side of the road and hoped that somebody would come along and save me, or I could get up and start walking and make something happen. So I chose to get up and keep walking.
Once again, listen to Unrefocused Radio, talking to Natalie Fayman. And when you look at today you're helping a lot of women, and your passion is to help them create a healthy, confident, and energized life. And with that passion that you have, what's some of the things that you help them with? Because the process of recovering too, we can have a problem with self-sabotage. What are some of the ways that you help educate them and allow them to see past the current circumstance?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to learning to believe in yourself again. A lot of self-sabotage comes from lack of belief, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's weight loss or whether it's building a healthy relationship, whatever it is that you're working toward in your life. If you don't believe in the core of your gut that you can make this happen, then you won't. If you're doubting yourself, if you're telling yourself a story about how many times you've tried before and failed, or all the reasons why the world is just stacking up the odds against you, you're creating an uphill battle for yourself. It comes down to your core belief. Do you believe that you're capable of doing the thing that you're trying to do? Because if the answer is yes, if you truly do believe, then you will stop at nothing. There is no obstacle that the world could put in front of you that's going to discourage you or get in your way or stop you from pushing forward or finding a way around. So it really comes down to believing that you can, and believing that you deserve the goal that you're working for.
And when you were able to really improve your life, and not just with your mindset and mental health, but just physically having a healthy lifestyle, someone listening, what was some of the wisdom that you give to the audience who might be struggling with trying to stay committed to having a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, it comes down to your driving reason why. Why do you want this for yourself? If you're taking the example of weight loss, if you want to lose weight just because you want to look better for vanity reasons, or because you're tired of feeling like people are judging you, that is not an inspiring enough reason. You have to really go down to the core of your heart to find, why do I want this? What is it that's going to drive me to keep straight headed on to my true north when the temptations are all around me and I've had a bad day and it's just easier to dive into a bag of chips or a pint of ice cream and I'll start again next week? The key with weight loss specifically, a lot of the problem comes not because we are always hungry. It's not because we can't control our appetite. It's not because we just like to eat fattening food. It's because we are using that food to manage our emotions. We eat when we're sad. We eat when we're lonely. We eat when we're bored, when we're angry. We eat to celebrate happy occasions. We eat for all kinds of reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with hunger. And so if you're left with your emotions at the end of the day when your boss has yelled at you, or you overheard one of your coworkers saying something snarky about you, you're sitting with your emotions at the end of the day. You have to have a positive way to redirect or process through that. And so many of us will turn to food or alcohol or some other type of distraction. And it's, even though we can clearly see that there are going to be consequences for that decision, it doesn't matter in the moment, because all we care about is feeling better in that moment. The consequences we can deal with later. And once you develop that habit of soothing your emotions with food, with alcohol, with whatever your distraction of choice is, it becomes a deeply reinforced neural pathway in your brain, and it becomes a path of least resistance. And so that's why after, 10, 20, 30 years of soothing myself with food at night when I just couldn't bear the pain of my emotions, it just felt like an insurmountable battle. This is why diets don't work, because diets don't teach you how to deal with your emotions. You have to learn a more positive way, a more constructive way to deal with the root cause of what's lying underneath. If I'm overeating on a daily basis, it's not because I'm hungry. It's because I have unresolved negative emotions and I don't have a better way of handling it. So once I started to develop those skills, and a lot of it comes down to the way we talk to ourselves, especially women, we are our worst critics. We are our own biggest bullies. We'll tell ourselves things that we would never say aloud to another human being. Horrible things. We will tear down our own self-esteem. But when we do that, we are just creating more of our own pain. And if the only way that you know to soothe that pain is with food or alcohol, then that's going to be your go-to tool. So it really just comes down to learning to treat yourself better, learning to believe that you deserve better, and learning better tools to process stress, negative emotions when they happen, so that you don't slide back into your defaults.
Once again, talking to our special guest for today, Natalie Fayman, and listen to Refocus Radio. In a few months we have left with you, you have a website, nolimitscoachingnow.com, and you have a mission. I'll read real quick. You help overweight, exhausted, stressed out women create energized lives so that they can finally look and feel who they were meant to be. And I like the little headline, Live Without Limits. And with today's topic that we're making, pointing towards making motivation easy, with the time we have left with you, when you are helping your clients to realize that it can become easier. Not that it is easy, but that it can become easier with steps being taken. What's the thing that you share with the audience as far as them making that first step to change? Because sometimes the first step is the hardest.
Yeah, I think the number one biggest takeaway is just to change what you believe that you deserve and what you believe about yourself, because we create the results in our lives that we believe we deserve. And if you believe that what you have right now is what you deserve, then that's what you'll settle for. But if you believe that you deserve better, then you'll work for better and you will achieve better. And it starts with talking better to yourself, being proud of yourself, and being your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy.
Once again, I want to say thank you to you, Natalie Fayman, for talking to us today on Refocus Radio. Once again, go check out her website, nolimitscoachingnow.com. Again, that's nolimitscoachingnow.com. Once again, you are doing great things for the community, and I want to say thank you for what you do and what you contribute to the world.
Thank you for having me on your show, Shemaya. It's been an honor.